Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well, and welcome back to Michael's Matters. And I, of course, am Michael. Today on our Social Security update, we have some very interesting proposed changes to Social Security coming out of the Biden administration as well as the House on the Democratic side that could potentially increase how much money seniors and retirees on programs like Social Security Retirement, Social Security Disability, that's SSDI, Supplemental Security Income, SSI, as well as Railroad and Retirement and VA benefits could all get if it gets passed. And not just an increase in dollars this time, but an actual increase in the percentage of benefits. So those increases will actually stay even during inflation. These new changes, if passed, could obviously help seniors and retirees, sure. But they could also really alter that calculus that folks make, whether it's better to retire early at 62 years old or whether they should wait until 70 to file for their Social Security benefits. Now, lastly, within the proposal, there is also a very controversial repeal that would affect public workers, so folks like firefighters and police officers, post office workers, federal, state, and local employees, as well as teachers who are punished on their Social Security benefits right now for choosing their line of duty and a life of service. So we'll talk about that too. Now, this is Michael's Matters. And before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos get put out. All right, let's get down to it. All right, so today I want to talk about one really interesting change to Social Security that is being bandied around in the White House right now, which is a proposal that would benefit older Medicare beneficiaries specifically, and ultimately change the calculus of when would be the best time to retire. Now, the proposed change would essentially provide a 1% increase in Social Security benefits specifically to seniors who are between the ages of 78 years old and 82 years old. Now, the main reason for this is because we all know that the COLA, or that cost of living adjustment that you get every year, well, it has not been keeping up with the actual cost of living. It's done a pretty poor job of that. This means that for older Social Security beneficiaries who have, in fact, been on Social Security benefits for longer, every single year that they're on Social Security and they're getting that COLA, they're losing a little bit more of their purchasing power. This proposed change would try to counteract that by adding 1% every year up until they get a totality of a 5% increase. So basically double the COLA amount that folks got in 2022. To try to get these older beneficiaries back up on par with what the actual modern cost of living is. So one interesting aspect of this, I think, and I noticed, is that for this specific group, which is between the ages of 78 and 82 years old, this age range, it can't be a coincidence, because according to the AARP, the break-even point, so that is if you file for retirement and Social Security early at 62, at 67, and at 70, but that break-even point between when you get the same amount of money at retiring at 62 and at 70 actually tends to come up right at 78 years old and 8 months. So that is right in this range where those folks are going to get that 5% increase. Now, at least to me, as a person who is now able to make decisions about whether I should eventually retire at 62 or at 67 or at 70, it definitely adds some incentive on the bias side toward retiring early, because not only would I get more time earlier in life when, presumably I'm going to be younger and healthier, but also I end up getting more money on the back end when I get to 78 years old, which seems like a pretty great deal, although maybe not so fair for some of those people who waited till they were 70 to retire, those older retirees who waited, or those people who are just older in general. Now, I don't know what you all think. I'd love to hear what you have to think, that if you could get a 5% boost, or if you knew you were going to get a 5% boost once you got to 78 years old, would it actually affect whether you retire early at 62 or wait till 67 or even wait all the way out to 70? So let me know in the comments. That'd be great to hear. Now, next up for today is a proposed legislation that is making its way through that congressional process, to become a bill on the House side. And that could really make some dramatic increases to Social Security benefits to folks who are getting Social Security if it actually passes. Now, this proposed legislation, called the Medicare 2100 Act, or 2100 Act, is being proposed by Democratic Congressman John B. Larson out of Connecticut, in which they are hoping to make changes to, one, how the COLA and the yearly cost of living adjustment is calculated, which is definitely needed, and they want to change it to make sure they get more money in the hands of seniors and retirees, add additional percentage to how much a beneficiary can actually get on top of their COLA, and then potentially repeal a Social Security penalty that punishes government workers like firefighters and teachers and federal government workers and local government workers for being in that profession, for choosing to be in those professions. So first off, the COLA adjustment is something that we have talked about before tons of times, and we'll probably continue to talk about it for a while. I think it makes total sense to change, which is to change the CPIW, which is the core factor about how someone's COLA or cost of living adjustment is actually factored every single year. And they want to change it to a CPIE, which is a specific metric just for older folks, for seniors, so that they can calculate in their cost into how much their monthly and yearly costs are going up, rather than compare it to the CPIW, which is just for the regular urban worker, because we all know that seniors have increased costs in somewhere and less costs on other sides than the average urban worker. So that's the first one. Second one is to add a 2% increase across the board. So like we talked with the 5% just for older Medicare beneficiaries, but this 2%, if passed in the Medicare 2100 Act, would apply to all Medicare beneficiaries to help them try to keep up with inflation, because we know, again, COLA is not keeping up. So you would get your normal COLA or even the adjusted COLA with the now attributed from the CPIE and add 2% on top of that. So for last year, instead of getting 5.9%, or we can call it 6% if we're going to round up, you would get an additional 8% increase. And then this year, if it's 8.7%, you would get 10.7%. So, those numbers are all looking pretty good, and to be frankly, mighty pricey, but they would keep up with inflation. All right, so lastly for today, I want to talk a bit more about this WEP and GPO provision that exists for public servants, why it's here, and if it's actually, a good idea to get rid of it, because, it's not universally accepted that it is. So people like firefighters and teachers, and especially now teachers, as well as police officers, postal workers, and, the general federal employees are under more pressure now than ever to do their difficult jobs with the limited resources that they are provided. And frankly, they're getting underpaid for what they do. For folks in those situations who have to deal with the stress and, in many cases, the trauma and just the harshness on the body is extreme. So, there's no way they're currently getting compensated for that. But, this whole provision about the WEP and GPO is more complicated than, initial understanding. And it's primarily because, it was designed because they want to ensure, or it was designed because they wanted to ensure that public workers don't get overly generous retirement benefits, which sounds ridiculous now, but maybe back in the day it made more sense. And so they do this by offsetting how much benefits they can get from Social Security by how much they receive from their own professional pensions. So like PERS or CalPERS here in California, and other federal government pensions that would exclude them from Social Security they pay into while they are working at their profession. Now, this seems sort of reasonable, at least at the time, but one of the main flaws in the way that the WEP and the GPO were calculated and designed is they don't have a mechanism to distinguish between highly paid government employees, so, deans of colleges and college football coaches and governors, versus low-paid retirees, so teachers, postal workers, dog catchers, police officers, are lower-paid employees. And so the end result is that those lower income civil servants can lose as much as 2/3 of their actual Social Security retirement or their Social Security spousal support benefit when they have this GPO or WEP kick in. Now, according to the Alliance for Retired Americans, out of those people who do have affected most by the WEP and GPO, 83% are represented by women. And those are the folks who are getting hit hardest by this offset, and really are most likely to end up falling into poverty as they get older. So eliminating this would help those people specifically. Now, on the other side of that argument, there is the Center on Budget Policy Priorities, the CBPPP, who argues that the WEP and the GPO is specifically designed to ensure that there is enough Social Security benefits overall to go around, so that those high-earning individuals don't take up a huge portion of the Social Security pool and leave, a smaller portion just for those lower income workers, or leave none for the rest of us. And it's really meant to not double pay workers who really have not maybe paid into Social Security that long. So for the first couple years through college, they paid in Social Security at their jobs that they worked. Then they get a job as a police officer, as a firefighter, or whatever they do, and they can pay into those independent pensions or those government pensions that excludes them from Social Security. So the argument is, why should they get the full Social Security benefit when they actually have been paying more money into the private pension that was meant to replace it? And so, again, it's a difficult decision to see, but I think on my side, I would still favor trying to help those lower income individuals and design something so that there's an income limit or a max to it, so that they, those higher income folks can't take advantage of it as well and leave no money for the rest of us. All right, so wow, I mean, looking at all this, it definitely seems like there could be more help on the way for seniors and retirees who are on Social Security. So again, that could be Social Security retirement, Social Security disability, supplemental security income, railroad retirement benefits, and the VA. The thing is that it doesn't seem like it's going to happen right now for sure, right? I mean, with the elections and everything, that's going to be difficult. But with things like inflation continually, in fact, daily, and probably even hourly, by the second, eating away at the actual purchasing power of folks on these benefits, there is a definite need to do something to help these folks to make sure that they can make ends meet. I think that both with President Biden and the Dems in Congress, and frankly, even the Republicans, they have the right tack at the moment, right? They all want this to pass, but they need to make sure it passes on their own terms, and that's where things get to be very messy. But it's really important that we make sure that the Social Security COLA, whatever version it comes out, it is changed to better reflect those true costs of seniors and get them back to a yearly adjustment that they can actually live on. But no doubt it's going to be expensive, both in dollars as well as in political capital sense. But this week I heard something, a saying, I guess, that is really kind of hits home to me, and maybe you all have heard it, and I never have, is that you don't inherit the future from your parents, but rather you borrow it from your children. And this now seems to be more true than ever with the current predicament of our older friends, of our older neighbors, as well as our older family members who are in this same predicament across the country today. All right, so that's it for today, and I hope that you found this video interesting and helpful, or at least useful. And if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification button so you can get updates when my newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourself, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy